Well, thank you for joining this very casual webinar discussion that we have at SUKAD. As you all know, we are a project management company really trying to bring together technology, methodology, and world-class expertise in project management together to create a new standard for the project management ecosystem. Today's discussion is just sort of like a fireside chat with our CEO, Mounir Ajam. And really the goal of the discussion is to, at a high level, talk about the beginnings of the business and how it's evolved over time and really what's happening in the project management industry and ecosystem today. So we have a pretty broad agenda, and our goal really is to not only share our perspective as a company and Mounir's perspective as a thought leader in the project management domain, but also to pose some questions and some call to actions for the industry. We think there's a lot of exciting things going on, especially from a technology perspective. And we hope that this conversation, in parallel to everything else that's going on in the industry, is just a positive force of change. So with that being said, we will jump in. Before we jump into the questions, Mounir, if you'd like to give any kind of introduction, feel free.
Yeah, thanks, Mo. Yeah, welcome. Today, I'd like to make it. It's really more like an interview style, but it's Mohammed will be asking most of the question. But of course, Haitham, Mohammed, Khadr, feel free to jump in and ask your questions as well. I would like to make it friendly, casual discussion, open discussion, in total transparency. We are excited. We are excited because Uruk finally, after a lot of growing pain, it's live, it's active. The initial product in the market. This week we will do release number 1.1. So basically that means over the last 2 months we've been doing a lot of enhancement, and we will be doing this release as just update that include some improvement of what we have done before and some new functionalities and feature. We will continue working on enhancement for the rest of the year and January with another release 1.2 that will happen around the end of January. And that would help us get the platform in a very good shape for users and early adopter. However, the Uruk program is a huge program and it will be ongoing for two or plus years to come. We will be adding a lot of functionalities and a lot of features. We'll be adding governance, built-in PMOs, managing a portfolio, managing program. We will be adding tailored method to the managing the project. So there will be a lot of work that we will be adding along the way. So this has been an exciting journey of learning for us, and we're excited to share with you and open to your questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Mounir. I think these kinds of discussions are, best started with just kind of a high-level perspective on how it all began. And with all of the experiences that you've had, Mounir, in the project management domain, looking at all of the changes from a standards perspective, from a methodology perspective, from a technology perspective, you've seen so much, and I look forward to digging into that with you. But let's just start with the origin story. How did this all begin for you and SUKAD and Uruk?
Interesting. Let me start with a bit of a historical perspective about myself. I'm an immigrant. I came to the US after high school. I studied engineering, worked in engineering, went back to school and got a master's degree in engineering and construction management. And that was 30 plus years ago. In those days, there was no university degrees, whether at the undergraduate or the postgraduate level, that are focusing on project management. So my degree was in engineering and construction management, which is a project management for capital facilities project. And with that, I joined Exxon Chemical in those days and had the opportunity to learn and to work on multitude of project and different roles, from estimating to project control, to project engineering, to project management as a project manager on plant size project, what we call revamp or with facilities that are operating where you go and do modification project. Some people call them brownfield, we call them revamp. I had the chance to work on small multiple project, and I had the chance to work on mega project. So I gained significant amount of experience, and I was fortunate to be involved in working on 2 mega projects before I left the US and went to work for Saudi Aramco in Saudi Arabia. But with the mindset that I wanted to do a company, and we started SUKAD with a few friends back in 2004, 2005 in Dubai. Now that SUKAD, the company we had in Dubai, and which was operating from 2005 to 2019, was primarily a project management training company with some consultancy work as well. And PMI being so popular and in hot demand with certification, obviously a lot of our early courses and training were on project management certification. So as I am curious personality type, and then as I work with my client, I'm not focused only on delivery. I'm also focusing on learning, on the market. And what we discovered, there are huge gaps in practice. And the gaps were in multiple areas. First, the focus on certification training, it was challenging because organization wanted to do something popular, and the certification, especially the PMP, was popular. So they sent a lot of people to train on the PMP. However, their organizational processes and system for project management either did not exist or did not align with PMP and PMI. So it became like the first gap we noticed is like these companies are spending money on training people on getting a certification. It's like they are teaching their people getting to learn a foreign language that they cannot use at work. Because when those PMPs, assuming those people achieve the PMP, come back to work, their system doesn't align, so they cannot practice it. That was the first gap in practice. The second gap in practice, what we noticed as well, is that there is a lot of focus on theory and certification, but not enough focus on real-world project management. And as a result, we notice a lot of organizations do not have a practical approach for managing project. They did not have a proper methodology or project management systems in place. Or if they have something, it was mostly, back of the envelope kind of things, working using Excel or PowerPoint. And one of the jokes we had one time shared with us in one of our classes is that one of the participants said, in this company, we manage project by PowerPoints, which mean, it's only, we let the contractor and the consultant do the work, and they present to us through PowerPoint, and this is how we manage project. So that the gap in practice is the focus on certification training was leading to gaps between knowledge and what being practiced. A lot of organizations did not have the proper project management system. And if they have it, it was too purely focused on technical project management rather than holistic project management. So we start to think, what is missing? Also, when we train people, we notice that, yeah, we understand, Mounir, what you're saying here. We understand the PMI framework, we understand the process group, we understand the knowledge area, but I still do not know how to apply them in the real world. And that created a lot of soul searching. And then we started to do some research and development, initially with myself, and then with colleagues like Nada, she's on the call right now, Luke Bowman, who's in Australia today, and other people. And we started to realize that what we need is real world project management. So that's one thing. And real world project management means applied. That means the ability to apply, not just focus on theory and concept or achieving certification. And we still do not know how to manage project. I like to share a quotation here from an officer from a ministry. I think it was in Bahrain. He told me, Mounir, we just certified. These were the first people that focusing on getting certification. We just certified 50 people in our ministry, and we still do not know how to manage project. And that was kind of the triggers. These kind of comments we were hearing, they were the triggers that, something is wrong. So we need to have applied project management. How to apply project management in real world setting or real project from the government sector, NGOs, and private companies. So that was the first struggle or the first challenge that we wanted to encounter. And then we also noticed there is a lack of organizational system. So that was another challenge we have to deal with. we noticed the absence of pure project management, or I mean, real world project management in the sense of life cycle management. How to manage a project from inception to closure, which mean how do we integrate with the business and operation? That was also lacking. So we took these challenges on, and there were other challenges as well, but these are the primary themes of the challenges and all the consequences that come along. And we decided to develop a methodology that reflects not only technical project management, meaning managing the delivery phase or managing implementation or managing a software development project, rather managing across the life cycle from inception, the point of time where that project became an idea, all the way into operation. And how do we do that successfully? So we wanted to do a project management methodology. So we created CAMP. And CAMP, meaning the customizable and adaptable methodology for managing project. It's actually a product delivery methodology that blend product delivery with project management. Now, what CAMP also consider, and the reason we use the word customizable and adaptable, is that we realize the first challenge that I did not mention before, is that project management is different between different industries. So if you want to manage project in the banking sector versus the oil and gas, there are differences. The type of the project, if you want to manage an IT project versus a marketing project versus a finance project, or a facility project, or a medical facility, industrial facility, oil and gas, whatever the case might be, there are differences. So we cannot take the approach of one size fits all. So what we came up said, okay, what is the basic fundamental truths that relate to all type of project? And when we develop our life project methodology, which is start with the project life cycle, we said, okay, every project, regardless where you come from, must have certain phases. We must do a discovery phase, we must do development of the concept phase, and then we do a delivery phase. These are universal, regardless what type of project you work on. But then how do we accommodate the different types of project? And we created what we call the stages of a project that are customizable and adaptable. And hence the name customizable and adaptable methodology for managing project, where we offer a standard method that is a generic. And from there, we can tailor that method to be fit for purpose, depend on what type of project and industry, the type of the project, the industry you're working in, and the class of project. So even within facility project, a small, simple project like a house project should be managed somewhat differently than building a residential tower or an office tower. So these are the key challenges that we tackled in CAMP. Now, CAMP become well known. We did a lot of training when we were in Dubai on this across the region, and we published books about it. And then 2 years ago, a few friends and I said, okay, it's time to come up with a digital solution based on CAMP. And that's how SUKAD Corp started in the US. We shifted to the US and launched SUKAD Corp to become the technology pivot of the old SUKAD, if we can call it that way, where we pivoted from being a training company with some consultancy into a software technology, methodology-driven company. And we started to use CAMP as only one of the core knowledge foundation for Uruk. And that's how it all started. Long answer, but it provides extensive history of the progress of how we went from identifying the gap to research and development to creating a methodology and now to creating the digital solution, which is Uruk.
Thank you, Mounir. You know, one of the hallmark and foundational pieces of what you spoke about there was the CAMP methodology. For those who do not necessarily have as much background about it, or for even those that are familiar with it but may not know the history of it, could you just provide a little bit of background on CAMP as well, and specifically how your views about it just may have evolved over time?
Yeah. Initially, it started, in relation to what I was saying earlier, it started that, okay, how can we take the PMI framework, to be frank and honest, how can we take the PMI framework and convert it into a practical real-world methodology? That's how the idea started. Because unfortunately, PMI or other, I mean, if we look at the two largest project management associations today, PMI and IPMA, they don't offer a methodology. Most people think they offer a methodology. They think the PMBOK or the PMP is a methodology, but they're not. So that's how the idea started. And we start to come up with a real life, what would be a project life cycle look like. And we developed the first version back in 2007, 2008. And we published our first book on the subject in 2010. Later on, it evolved. We did version 2 in 2013, 2014. And currently we are on version 3, which is documented in a book called Project Management Beyond Waterfall and Agile that was published by CRC Press, which is part of the Taylor and Francis Publishing Group. And that was published in December 2017, exactly 4 years ago. And that book documents CAMMP. And the way CAMMP operates, the idea is that based at, we use the word methodology because it's a set of methods, it's not a single method. In project management, sometimes we confuse the word methodology with method. In reality, a method is one thing, how to follow something, sequential 1, 2, 3, 4, where a methodology is a study of method. So this is why we use methodology in CAMMP, because it's a study of methods. So we start with the standard method that consists of 3 phases, 9 stages, and 9 stage gates, which is a life cycle stage gate process model. Many people in industrial organization and the work on complex project, they understand the idea of life cycle management and stage gate process. Those who focus only on the delivery phase, maybe development of a software project or the development of a product like a construction. So they are involved only in the stage of the project rather than the whole project from ideation to closure. They do understand the concept of life cycle stage gate process. Although sadly enough, a lot of organizations, including large organizations, do not use a properly well-defined stage gate process. And that was one of the drivers for us to develop what we did. So CAMMP as a methodology, it takes you step by step to manage a project from idea. Now, the idea could come from strategic planning, could come from facility planning, could come from a group of investors they want to launch a new company or a new startup, or a hotel chain, they want to go enter a new market somewhere else, or a restaurant, or a marketing campaign for a new car model, whatever the case might be. We can use tailored version of the methodology, right? So we start with a standard model and we can tailor it depend on the different type and size and class of the project. So the way CAMMP works, start with an idea. And then what we say is that we have an initial stage called concept stage, where the company need to produce something called project brief that describe what is the project, why are we doing it, which is more like a justification and business case, and how does it align to the organization strategy, because we believe project must align with organization strategy. So when we are building CAMMP, we're not only building the technical part, we're building the culture that we need to embed as well in organization in order to manage project effectively. So we have the first project brief and goes through a gate. And then we go through another stage we do called the feasibility stage, where we do a feasibility, where we assess the market, the challenges, the staffing, the resources, the schedule. There are many things we need to address to determine if the organization have the capability of delivering that project successfully. Unfortunately, a lot of projects fail because we don't do proper feasibilities. We don't assess whether we have the capability, whether it's money or resources or technology or market demand or whatever the case might be, to deliver this project successfully. And what I mean by deliver the project, I mean delivering the product at the end of the day and realizing the benefit that we anticipate to achieve. Many organizations fail to do that. And there are a lot of studies that shows most projects fail as a result of poor, what we call discovery phase, including the feasibility study. Now, I don't want to go through every step and every stage. Technically, then we go through other stages, and I'll quickly label them. We go through defining the requirement, exploring the stakeholder expectation. We go to a strategy stage and project management. We go to detailed planning, and then we go into implementation. Now, one thing is very important about CAMP that many people might miss. The discovery phase often is done by the business, by strategic planning. So technically we are integrating that where we integrate the project with the business. But then as we come toward closing the project, especially if it's a facility project, any hotel, for example, there are a lot of operational preparedness activities that need to happen. Often, most organizations do not consider that part of project management. So most project management literature ignore the issues related to operation readiness, and have seen major mega projects happen where the facilities are ready, finished, right? But operation readiness is not ready yet. They still don't have licenses to permit to operate, or they don't have hired the staff enough, or they have not trained everybody, or whatever the case might be. So that is often enough and a delaying project, although because that operational part is done by some operation people that could be not part of the project team. And as a result, there is a lack of integration. In CAMP, we include 2 stages related to operation. We include operational readiness stage, which is in parallel to the implementation work. So let's say we are talking about a hotel. While the hotel is being designed, engineered, and constructed, we have operation people in parallel working on decoration, the menus for the restaurant, hiring the staff, training the staff, developing the IT system, starting to organize awareness campaign and branding campaign and marketing campaign. All of these things could be happening in parallel to the construction effort that's going on. And when everything is ready, we hand over. We say, okay, now we are ready. The construction, the engineering team will hand over the facility to the operation people, where they go through initial operation period before they hand it over. So at the front end and throughout the project, but primarily at the front end, we integrate the project management with the business. And then during the work and at the end, we integrate the project with operation. And I think many methods in project management completely lack those 2 ends. They are strategically and critically important for success of project.
Thank you, Mounir. I think that provides a good overview of the CAMP methodology and the way in which it has really transformed the way that we think about the stage gate process in project management. I think transitioning a little bit now into the substance and the nuts and bolts of SUKAD as a company and the Uruk technology platform, I think we should talk a little bit about the approaches that we're taking as far as the Uruk platform goes, and how, based on all the evolution surrounding the CAMP thinking and based on the entire evolution of the project management ecosystem, how we have really incorporated those insights and those learnings into our technology, and how that technology now addresses the most critical needs of project management professionals today.
Well, as a primary developer of Uruk, but the work is not alone. As I mentioned, when we were in Dubai, we were working on methodology. We had a lot of help, primarily from Luke Bowens and Nada Shaban. Also, with the current SUKAD, I have a lot of input from the board and other shareholders about how can we create a great solution. And we want to emphasize the term solution here, because we don't believe Uruk is another software tool, because a lot of people think, the market is flooded with software tools. Uruk, it's definitely not a tool. It's a major comprehensive solution that include the processes, the methodological approach, and also include a lot of the culture. Softly, I guess we're trying to embed culture throughout Uruk in a soft way. And how are we doing this? Well, obviously, as I mentioned, because a lot of the experience that I have as a primary developer of Uruk and all the help we've had over the years, and personally, I have been in project management for more than 30 years, and include the collective wisdom of the people who have worked with me over the years, whether on CAMP or Uruk, we probably have a few hundred years among us in terms of project management experience from different industries. So there are a lot of knowledge, real world project management knowledge. We're not academic, and no insult to academic. I mean real world, when we are actually working on the project and we see the good, the bad, and the ugly on small project and mega project. I mean, I've had the fortune to work on 2 mega projects, and one of them we consider somewhat was more of a failure and one more of a success. So those things, and obviously failure sometimes teach you more than success. So over the years, I have been a learner of project management. I'm very passionate about project management. I have been in project management for 31 years, if we exclude the early years as an engineer, just pure project management since my master's. So I've seen a lot of the great practices from highly competent project management organization, and I've seen a lot of poor practices, and I've seen some ugly practices, and I've seen some ghost, no practices at all, as I mentioned earlier, managing by Excel or PowerPoint. So we've seen a lot of the gaps in practice. We've seen many of the common errors. We have seen the bad practices sometimes, or they're trying to force, like right now, the trend is agile everywhere we go. And many people insist that agile is a project management methodology. It's not, but this is not the topic, so we don't need to go into detail right now. Agile is not a project management methodology, right? And agile doesn't work in construction. And yet you have people who are promoting agile today. They insist, no, it works in construction and agile is a project management methodology. That indicates to me that those people are working on project and they're probably using agile as project management, but they are only managing a stage of the project, not the whole project holistically. So when we identify these gaps, we wanted CAMMP and Uruk to be highly agile in the sense of business agility, the flexibility, the ability to be dynamic in terms of the stages, changing the method to fit different type of domain, and to take all the technical considerations. So we want to provide a great solution to allow that agility, the business and the project agility, without losing sight of what's important in terms of life cycle, the proper governance that we need on project, and the different industries and domains. So that's what we are trying to build within Uruk, is build the standardized process for the methodology and with all the tailored method. However, on top of that, there are a lot of solutions in the market as well that focus on portfolio management. And what we want to do is we want to combine project management with portfolio management. And on top of that, we also have functions: cost, scope, risk, quality. And there are a lot of tools in the market to deal with these things individually. So what we're trying to do within Uruk, in terms of managing project, if we ignore managing the program and the portfolio and governance for now, in terms of managing project, we want to integrate, we already said earlier, we want to integrate project management with business, and we've done that. We want to integrate project management with operation, and we have done that. We introduced a project success model that assesses the project success from project management and business objective. We implemented that in Uruk as well. And we want to integrate also with the ability to manage individual things, function like cost and schedule and quality and risk and resource management and team and stakeholder engagement and all of these things. So it's so technically Uruk is not like, it's literally like 6 or 7 major softwares combined together. So Uruk is in a way is an integrator of all that great knowledge. Now, not everything is ready today, but some of it is ready today, and some of it we continue to build over time, with the objective, of course, in our aim and goal is that within 5 years for Uruk to become the primary project management solutions out in the market.
Thank you, Mounir. You mentioned that one of the key value propositions of Uruk is that for project management professionals, ultimately this will save time and ultimately will create efficiencies, and those efficiencies ultimately will save money. So can you elaborate on that a little bit, just for the project management professionals that are trying to understand the kind of ROI of a tool like this?
Sure. If an organization today, and I'll give an example, that's actually a real life example. If an organization today they've been hearing about project management, but they don't have a proper management system in place and they want to start, where do they start? Typically what they start is, there's something called PMO, let us, and there are many organizations nowadays promoting PMOs. And some of them, they're good, and some of them are just there for selling certification. So organizations said, okay, sure, I want to start a PMO, with the idea that the PMO, the project management office, would build in the project management system and processes in place. Now, if a company go out and hire a consultancy or a freelancer to do this, usually to build a PMO in the company, often enough, the PMOs are not built properly. They are only built in more of a, interface reporting. Maybe, I mean, there are different type of PMO out there. A lot of the PMO fail because they end up focusing and fail quickly because they are focused on maybe just reporting and policing. They're not really offering the processes and the enhancement and the methodology to manage a different type of project within the organization. Now, some of the PMOs do that. They offer the methodology and they do. However, if an organization, let's say a mid-sized company, an organization, private or government, want to implement a project management office, a lot of the data out there, and I'm talking about mid-size, we're not talking about a mega conglomerate, right? We're talking about a good-sized organization, a ministry in Saudi Arabia, UAE, or maybe a Department of Transportation in a state in Canada or province in Canada or a state in the US. They want to establish a project management office. Usually the process required, usually, and again, I cannot give you exact number because it very depend on the size of the organization and the type of the project they want to handle. That would probably require few people, 3 to 5, maybe 1 to 5 people, depend on the size. And that could take 6 months to a year. And they might not build the full PMO. Well, today with Uruk, a company that accept that what we are building is world-class, is definitely built and according to global leading practices. Obviously, we need to talk and we need to convince them of that. But I mean, if a company feel like, yes, definitely Uruk and what SUKAD offers, they do have already built in. Technically, within a week, they can start using it. So they don't have to wait a year, right? So instead of waiting 6 months to a year to have a system in place, and spending probably $1 million, again, depend on the size. It could be a few $100,000 to a few $1 million. They can start immediately and just pay subscription fees. And if they're not happy, they can cancel anything. There is no major investment, upfront investment in terms of cost or time. They can start immediately. Now, of course, today they will have to take our standard model. But if they say, Mounir, look, we like what you have, but we want to, our method is slightly different or somewhat different or whatever the case might be, then we can probably spend a week with them to understand their processes if they want to implement. And we will, I'm absolutely sure that most of it will match what we have, but maybe they use different name, different terminology. So we might be able to spend a week or 2 or 3 maximum in discovery and talking to them, depend how big the company is, and understand what they want, and then maybe take a few more weeks to develop a tailored solution for them. Now, why can we do it very quickly, right? And it will be a digital solution, not a solution on paper, right? Why can we do it quickly? Because most likely all the component they want is there. We just need maybe to change maybe some of the workflow or change some of the authorities, like, on the stage gate who have the authority to approve. So most likely, we can, within anywhere from 2 weeks to 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks, if I want to be conservative, we can give them a tailored method that fit their need. However, they don't have to wait for that because they can immediately start using what we have, and then we improve and adopt as we move forward. So in that case, we can work in parallel. While we spend a couple of days to train, to onboard them and train them on use what the existing, our team could be doing exploration to look at and collecting their feedback and doing this. And actually today, just yesterday, we had a request for proposal for a company that want to do a digital solution, cloud-based solution for their project management operation. And our approach would be for them, if they're willing to accept ours, we might be able to save as much, because they have a lot of stuff they want, we might be able to save them significant time and money in terms of initial investment. And again, not counting the opportunity benefit that come as a result of starting to use a ready-to-go system now, instead of waiting 6 months to a year. Now, that is in terms of onboarding client. In addition to that, I mean, many organizations do not have organizational systems. So right now, they are basically what we are giving them within Uruk is the organizational system ready to go. So in a way, like we are giving them PMO built in already. So there are significant savings in terms of cost and time. Again, not only on onboarding, as they manage project as well, because we have developed in Uruk, we have developed the lifecycle model, we have developed every stage deliverable, have the templates in there. They will have example as they start to use. They will be able to finish project in Uruk. They will be able to copy, paste, and modify for future project because everything is digitized. Every document for the project, we provide them templates. And then once they become complete on their project, they can use for future projects. So that significantly can expedite them planning future project. That means every project can save maybe 20, even 20, if not more percentage in terms of management, project management. And I'm sure we don't have evidence right now because we don't have actual case studies, but I'm sure they will be able to save more than 20 to 30% of their project management cost to manage project, to plan and manage project. In addition, because the systems are in place and all the processes, the flows, they don't have to worry about tailoring every method. They don't have to worry about creating the method with every project. That means that free time we give them, we allow them to become more creative and to be able to focus on doing the best they can to come up with the best technical solution for their project and deliver it. If we can help them not to worry about the project management aspect, or at least minimize their concern and effort. And these are some of the, I think, powerful feature that would definitely help anybody onboarding for Uruk.
Thank you, Mounir. Let's talk a little bit now, since we've been talking about the past and the evolution of the project management industry from a methodology perspective, from a technology perspective, and the new possibilities that exist from a ROI and efficiency standpoint. Now that we've addressed that, let's talk a little bit about the future. So, especially in your position as a thought leader, as someone who is looking at a lot of new project management research, approaches, tools, technologies, you speak at a lot of conferences, you've written a lot of books. So I'd like you to get out your magic 8-ball and peer into, or perhaps telescope and peer into the future. So what does project management look like, Mounir, in 5 years, 10 years, perhaps more? Any perspective on that?
There are a lot of people who are predicting that online, and I think many of them, with all due respect, are probably mistaken. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I tell you why. I mean, today, there is a lot of misunderstanding about project management in the market. A lot of what we see online and the software that we see and that we should drive project management in a way is coming from technology background, which is heavily focused from learning from development of project. That means the delivery, what we call in CAMMP delivery, or what people call the development of the product phase. So they're not looking holistically. And because a lot of that stuff becomes data-driven, so a lot of people think today that with AI coming, artificial intelligence coming on board, and I think there's some data out there, I forget right now the source, is that they claim within a few years that 80% of project management tasks could be done by AI. Well, I definitely, I think that's totally mistaken. And this is basically based on theory rather than any real hard work. Project management, real competent project management. It's highly people dependent and highly flexible in terms of understanding the context and the environment. And I think that will be very hard to automate or to use AI for it. Yes, things that we can learn, you know, like a car, with cameras can see a curb here, avoid it, easy. In project management, yes, definitely AI is huge. and can play a significant role, but not in taking over, because that's some of the people they promote it in a way that is taking over project management, by assisting project manager to be able to do better. Now, how can we do that? And this is one of the ideas, and we will have one module in Uruk for this, is the ability to, actually maybe we'll have two modules, is how can we use artificial intelligence and data, data analytics, big data, data analytics, artificial intelligence, all of these interrelated concepts. How can we use them to help us manage project effectively? Yes, that means a lot of data could be automated using proper automation techniques, but we still need the culture and the intelligence and of the human, at least, that I can see it for the next maybe 20 years, maybe 50 years from now, I don't know. So one thing we're trying to do, and forgive me, I need to come back to Uruk, because that I can relate it to the future of project management, because we are developing Uruk based on how we see the future, is that we need data. So in Uruk, we are building a lot of metrics and dashboards. So basically, there are a lot of data, probably more metrics than needed to display in dashboard for the average organization on a typical project. However, we're building a lot of metrics and be able to capture that data, obviously with masking the identity of the companies and protecting the privacy and confidentiality. Then we can do what we call external benchmarking. So we can help organizations understand how they're performing in comparison to everybody else. And that data and that analytic will give us a lot of data and a lot of knowledge and information. Obviously, we need to convert the data into knowledge, into tools and systems that allow us to develop what we call predictive analytics. That's what we're calling right now. I'm not sure if that's the exact scientific name, but using the data and the history and the benchmarking from across the industry, from across our client, from different type of organization, different type of project, different size of project, the ability to collect that data and sort it and categorize it by project type and size and complexity and so on, that will give us a lot of insight that we can put it into service to help our clients and to be able to help our client to manage project effectively. So the idea, we start with benchmarking, and then we move it to predictive analytics, where we can come up, and here probably down the road, I don't have that expertise, I'm not a technical guy, but definitely we need to hire expert in AI and data analytics later to start to basically create predictive analytic model. So, and so we can simulate project. As we are working on analysis of a project, we can go in and, for example, analyze today, based on current performance, we can analyze the data. We can analyze the data and the information on the existing project. Using the predictive analytic information, we can come up with much better forecasting than we do today. Today, what happens often, especially in complex project we perform, we collect data, we adjust the forecast. That means when we say forecast, for people who are not familiar with the term, is that basically the to-go, the remaining work. How long would it take? The completion date, does it change, doesn't change? Right now, we use some analytic already, but often enough, we are using the analytic based on experience and gut feeling and instinct rather than science. When we can combine that gut feeling and instinct and expertise of senior project manager and director with the wisdom and the real life experience with the data analytics, I am sure we can significantly improve decision-making. I cannot put a number on it, by 2, 3, 4, 5 folds. In time, we can have science help us determine what is the real value, but that's significantly help us. So in the future, what we need is the power of data analytics and predictive analytics to help us manage project effectively. That's one, using whatever technologies that are available for us, that we need that. Second, I think honestly, organization need to shift from the technology mindset with the power of technology into the ability to think of project holistically, integrating project management with business like what Uruk is doing. That I think a lot of organizations need to move that way and transform their practices toward holistic project management. adaptive project management, where we look at project from idea and inception all the way to closure, including the integration with business and asset and product management and operation management. And organization, one more thing that I say that not necessarily related to Uruk, but this project management. One of the biggest nightmare and the reason of project failure, especially in facilities project today, and mega project even, is the absence of project management competence on project owner side. Now, I hope in due time, SUKAD can continue to play the role of encouraging project owner. And what I mean by project owner, I mean these companies who are actually developing these projects and they will be operating them, including government, obviously, any infrastructure, highway, dams, utilities, hotels. What we would love to see, and that's part of our promotion, and we will use Uruk to help us promote this concept, is that these project owners to build their competence and capacity to manage project internally, because a lot of the research has shown when you depend on contractor or PMC consultant, you don't do as well as if you had managed yourself directly.
Thank you, Mounir. As we conclude this discussion, I think we should end on something actionable.
Okay.
And in particular, I think we should sort of look at the history of project management and the juxtaposition of it in contrast to where your views are about project management's future. And we should translate that, I think, into a call to action for project management industry. I think what I hear you saying is that a lot of times the way in which project management professionals going through the certification process and just the common industry thinking sometimes may be intuitive, but oftentimes it's wrong. So to get project management professionals to be in the right headspace for the future, to get project management professionals to approach this space in a way that maximizes project success, what's your call to action for the project management industry as a whole and project management professionals? What do they need to change in their thinking? What do they need to really be thinking about so that they can be best prepared for the future?
I think, sorry, I'm moving a little bit because something happening around me. I think what they need, regardless of whether they consider something like Uruk or not, obviously for us, we would love them to consider Uruk because it can definitely help them improve significantly. However, I think beside Uruk and beside SUKAD, to take that discussion into something that is really independent of, not to make it a commercial call. I think what organization and professional need, let me talk about professional first. We see a lot of professionals out there looking for certification training. And what we say is that think twice. Yes, there are a lot of value in certification. However, certification it doesn't give you an automatic role in. Like for me, for example, I mean, if two people come to me and they are all everything equal, I want to hire, and one of them have a certification, one that doesn't. Honestly, I might hire the one without the certification. And I know that might shock a lot of people. It's because sometimes, unfortunately, certification training had become too commercial. And I honestly believe, and I know this is what I'm going to say right now is very controversial, is that often enough some of the certification training, not every project management certification, some of them are really rigorous. Some of the most popular certification, right? They hurt more than they help. Because even I used to tell people when I used to teach classes on whether I'm teaching project management, applied project management, or PMI or certification training. I said, look, my job in a certification training is to help you pass an exam, right? My focus, especially when you have a multiple choice exam, and sometimes you don't have the ability, you get 4 answers and all 4 are wrong. You just have to choose the least wrong. That doesn't teach you project management, right? So certification, yes, it's nice to have 3 or 4 letters next to your name. It might add value, but not everywhere, because unfortunately, with the commercialization of project management, it become paper factories. Again, I cannot generalize. I cannot say everybody in every certification is like this, but a lot of the popular certification today have lost their values among people who understand project management. So as individual, don't just focus. If you want to get a certification, get it. If you think it will help you get through the door, go ahead. Invest the time and money to do it. However, if you really want to learn and grow in project management, you must depend on yourself first, right? Learn as much, read different perspectives. Don't limit your thinking to one professional association because not one of them offering you everything you need. Look at different literature from professional association and from others as well. Do as much learning as you can. Now, if you work in a company that obviously have project management role, maybe they don't have a system in place. Take it one step at a time. Start to help them build the system. Maybe you can take, risk management is a problem today. Research it, come up with a solution, come up with an idea. It may not be perfect, but at least do something to help your organization improve. That help you learn project management better and help you increase your value to your company. Okay, so don't just think just because you got a certification, you deserve to be a project manager today or deserve a reward. To me, your value is what you contribute on the ground in the company where you are in, right? If they have a system in place, see what areas that are causing pain to you or to other project manager and project people in the company, improve them and help to improve them. Take the initiative. One of my first manager or leader, actually, he was a manager. He used to tell me, Mounir, ask for forgiveness, don't ask for permission. That means take the initiative and do it. If you ask for permission, you might be rejected. Somebody might tell you, no, you don't have the authority to do it. But if you really believe in something, do it. If it doesn't work, say, forgive me, say, I'm sorry, I screwed up. I didn't do it well. I did not understand. Whatever, apologize, accept responsibility for your error and apologize, but do it. Take the initiative. People would respect that initiative, even if it may not produce everything is right. That's my advice for the individual. For organization, I think I already gave my recommendation earlier. Organization, regardless what, today I believe every organization on earth work on project. They might be very simple project or they might be nuclear power plant. Even the simplest of project, you don't have to become a certified project manager to manage simplified project, but at least understand the fundamentals of managing project. So as organization, build your processes. Build your processes. It's very easy. You cannot, you don't have to always hire a consultant and spend a year to build a PMO. You can build it one piece at a time. Take one issue, solve it as an organization. Now, I'm not talking about individual. We are having problem estimating project. Okay, what can we do? How can we improve? Sit down, do a task force, analyze, come up with a solution, fix it into your system, then move on to the next challenge and the next challenge. And probably within the same time, an external consultant will come and do it, right? You would have improved your system significantly, right? So take ownership of project management. Even if you are a small organization with 10 people, someone in that organization need to have a good knowledge and understanding of project management, at least the basics of project management. Now, of course, that person might be able to manage their project. I would not trust that person to manage, building a residential tower. But again, that's another story. If I need a project manager to manage residential towers, then I need to spend a lot of time and energy in training them and to make sure that I have the systems in place to support them. These would be my advice for organizations and individuals in the project management domain.
Thank you, Mounir. I think that's a wonderful call to action for the industry. And we've covered a lot of ground here. We've spoken about the origin story for SUKAD, the CAMMP methodology, and our kind of evolving views about it over time. We've also spoken about the Uruk Platform, SUKAD's technology platform for project management, and the value propositions that it offers to project management professionals. We've heard some very interesting ideas that you've had about the future of project management and some contrarian views, I would say. which are great to share with our listeners and participants today. And then, of course, we just ended with a great call to action. So I think as far as our agenda goes for today, I think that's pretty much it. We thank you all for participating, and this has been a great and sort of vibrant set of insights from Mounir, and we look forward to hosting you again. Mounir, any closing thoughts from your side?
No, what I would do is I will stop the recording. Obviously, thank you for everybody who's been here. It's been wonderful. Mo, you've been great. Your questions are very challenging and very interesting. I really enjoyed talking with you on this. What I will do is I will stop the recording with the interview, and then I can remain online because I know the time limit. I can remain online and take questions from everybody. Anybody else has questions, feel free to jump in.